Hey there, everybody. Chris Herman here for another episode of On Deck. This episode today you're going to love. If you are in sales or if you are a human being, period, looking to just overall improve the quality of your life with energy and understanding how you can positively impact other people, then you're going to love today's episode. My guest today is Steve Nudelberg. Steve is a sales trainer and also the author of a book called Confessions of a Serial Salesman. He's a real dynamic and energetic guy. We just chatted for about 50 minutes. It blew by in about 5, and I absolutely loved it. So I know you're going to enjoy it as well, too. So without further ado, today's episode is with Steve Nudelberg. Steve Nudelberg.
Yeah.
How you doing, man?
I am doing great. It's so nice to visit you. Your office is like the coolest place in town, so I'm thrilled to be here.
Thank you, Steve.
Yeah.
You are on deck. You ready to go?
I'm on deck. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Steve, the first time we met was about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. I want to guess it was around then. And you came out and you had just written your book, which I believe is called Confessions of a Serial Salesperson, right?
Salesman. But
salesman.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Well, in this day and age, Steve, it's
it refers to anybody in the sales world. And basically for years, people asked me, they go, you've been successful in a couple of different careers, a couple of different categories. How'd you do it? And I'm a big process guy. It was my process from the minute I wake up to the minute I go to sleep. It's all scheduled and done. And so you learn to deal with the ups and downs if you have a process. And so that's what it really is. And it led me, to people asking me to speak. And, it's 1% of the people actually convert their thoughts to an actual book. And so I became part of that club, and I was the most likely not to do that in high school. So.
Yeah, I think I could put my hand up and be part of that crowd as well, too. Well, I'm really excited you're here. And just in the few minutes that we've spent talking here before we started the show, now I'm even more excited about this conversation, because when you came in a few years ago, you were just like getting started with this. Like, okay, you just had the book and you were just beginning the process of really, getting yourself exposed in a new way via social media, and B, looking for opportunities to grow yourself and grow your business. And now, based on our conversations just as you've come in, it's fucking kicking.
It's working.
Yeah.
Big fan of the philosophy, if you do what you love, the money follows. So that
I got to stop you right
okay.
there. I got to just, my mom is just going to love this, because when I was a kid, my mom gave me the book, Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow.
It's a great book. Somebody gave me that book early in my career. It made me leave my existing career with the mentality. He said, gave it to me, and he said, what happens if you climb the corporate ladder just to realize it was leaning against the wrong building? And that was like an arrow to me, because I did not like what I was doing. I was making much more money than I thought I ever could, but money wasn't the driver. Right. It didn't work. So that's my philosophy, and I am so engaged with the people that I get to work with, CEOs, business leaders, entrepreneurs, some celebrities who just want to get better. My niche in the marketplace is really about revenue production. I help people grow revenue in a very modern way, not, the way people have been coaching and training. And when people get results, they become your best friends. So, I got a lot of friends.
So let's dive right into that. You're clearly operating successfully in the world of social media right now, right?
Correct.
That's your thing, if I'm correct, in terms of drawing attention to yourself and growing your network in ways that enable you to grow your business.
So the toolbox changed. We've been using email and voicemail for 50 years. There's not much else in your life that you still use after 50 years. So the sales game, I don't even like the word sales. I really call it opportunity creation. The rules have changed. The game has changed. The buyer has changed. Mm-hmm. Using new tools allows you to do it in a way that you could never dream of doing it before. And the results are building relationships at scale virtually. I have some clients, I've never shook their hand. It's unbelievable to think that that's possible.
Right.
That the CEO of a company in Ireland is working with me and I've never had the pleasure of shaking his hand. I didn't even think it was possible before, but it is. It's relevant. It's deep. Our relationship is strong. And when I get the opportunity to meet, it will be even better, but it's not a have to. And I think that's where the big changes are coming, is people letting go of, we don't physically need to be together. You know, and this was a big part of the pandemic. People said we were socially distant. No, we weren't. We were physically distant. We were socially much more accessible than ever before. CEOs were sitting home going, yeah, man, I want to have a conversation. I want to engage. I want to do. So the mentality changed, but you know, the people just didn't shift with it. The ones who are really operating at the top 5% right now.
You know, it's so interesting that you say all this because, you know, years and years, when I was coming up through the business, I was very focused on the work, do the work, do the work, do the work. And my dad, who was my mentor, you know, always said, it's all about the relationships. It's all about the relationships. Now, I've always said, as I got older and I understood that more, that the work, that's an expectation. Doing a great job and providing the very best that you can to your clients, that's expected, right? It's the relationships that really strengthen the bond and really allow you to grow, you know, your business, grow personally, whatever it is that you're trying to do. And I'm glad to hear you say that there has been, for you, these meaningful connections, regardless of there was no, you know, face-to-face physical connection, you're still able to make meaningful connections online.
So my whole career, I live by a saying, I wrote about it in the book and people that work with me know it, that the only difference between contacts and contracts is the R, which stands for relationships. So if you're really, really willing to invest the time and energy to build relationships, good things happen all the time. It's not about the sale, but the training and the pounding that salespeople take is go, get, do, you know. What's a good quality visit? You meet somebody you like, you're engaged, you could share good stuff with. I believe everybody can either purchase or consume your product or service or know somebody who can. So there's no pressure for me to sell you. If you introduce me to somebody who can use my service, isn't that easy? All the air just went out of the room, man. We could just chill and have a good time, you know. But the pressure to sell, I think it's over. Nobody wants to be sold.
You know, it's so true. I can think of, you know, and I know you can think of the same thing countless times, you know, through my career, going out, presenting the business, being face-to-face with somebody. You know, naturally, yeah, you want to close the deal, right? But if you're focused on just selling and then getting to either the yes or the no, it's not an enjoyable process. It's a stressful process
for either party,
right? It's not fun for either. You know, you and I are right here. We're talking. There's a good chance you and I are going to do something together.
Cool,
right? I mean, I can already feel that. I don't know what it is yet, but the vibe is here. The energy's here. You have knowledge. I have knowledge. We have shared capabilities in certain ways, and there's probably something that will come from that.
And you have the best studio, so you're on a great stage. Come on, man.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate that. When so many questions, I like the adrenaline's pumping right now. That's great. When people hire you, right? When your clients hire you, when relationships turn into business, specifically, what is it that they're hiring you to do? What are they saying, yes, Steve, we want your help with this? And what is it that you do?
So from a niche standpoint, we modernize the way people grow revenue. So they just the same patterns all the time. We're going to build a sales team. We're going to make 1,000 calls a day. And we're going to, you know, that's just sort of how people are programmed. We're very different, very, very different. Less is more. We're not prospecting the universe. We're very direct about who we should be talking to, what we should be talking to them about. And so from the top of most organizations, they want to learn. There's an appetite to learn What's new? There's a better way? All right, show me. If I don't do it, how can I ask my people to do it? So the idea that you matter, who you are, what you say, how you say it, you love music, you wear jeans, you know, that matters. I ask everybody this question. When was the last time you bought anything from somebody you didn't like? The answer is never. You just don't do it. I want to buy a car.
Right.
If I'm in front of a guy I don't like or a gal I don't like, I'll go find somebody else. So in a commoditized world, we show people how to market themselves. And in turn, that's the breadcrumbs that lead them to what they do for a living. So it's permission marketing. Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm going to get to know you. We're going to have a good time. And you're going to ask me, hey, I got this thing. Do you think you can help me with that?
Right.
And if you do, what does it look like? And what does it cost? And so we don't do any pitches. We're not really into, these stupid long proposals. We come to common ground where we have something in common that brings us together. We learn more about each other, and then it becomes obvious. Like, okay, what's the next step here? What do we do? Oh, you can help me grow revenue, and you can do that pretty quick. I want to learn how to do that. So I have so many case studies where somebody like you, I was just in Guntersville, Alabama, visiting a client who I met at the beginning of the pandemic, mm-hmm. was introduced to him. He's the CEO of a company called True Network. So there's 51 employee benefit companies that are part of his network, and they offer all kinds of value and services. We never met, and he tells his audience all the time, because I've spoken at a bunch of their events, that I never asked him for the sale. I never went there. He's like, at some point, are you going to tell me what you do? Because we were talking about music. He's a big music guy.
Right.
He's actually promoting young musicians. It's part of his gig. It's not his CEO role, but he wears a different hat to do that. So we love that. He's an ex-basketball player. I love that. There were so many things that we had in common. We just enjoyed talking to each other. By the second time we spoke, he said, hey, what do you do? And I said, well, I coach CEOs, leaders to understand the business side of it better, the revenue production side better. He goes, wow, it's been a long time since I've had a coach. What does that look like? I told him what it looked like, hired, didn't meet him for a whole year. I met him in May for the first time, face to face, and then just spent the weekend at his house with his lady and my lady, and we will be friends forever, whether the business side continues or not. And we don't have contracts, and you want to stay.
Right.
You want to go, man.
It's funny, we operate the same way.
Yeah.
I've never had a contract with any client ever. And some people are like, what? I'm like, listen, it's business. If we're doing the job, they keep us. If we're not doing the job, they're moving on. That's the way it goes. Give us 30 days. That's cool.
But Dad would have thought.
Right.
So that old school mentality with new school tools is dangerous. No substitute for the work. My dad told me the same thing.
Right.
Don't try and cheat it. You got to do the work. You listen to any successful athlete, celebrity, The Rock. Do the work, man. He's the hardest working guy I know. Do the work. Be good to people. It comes back, so to have a contract that says you have to stay with me,
right?
I don't want to be in that conversation,
right?
I don't want to be in that engagement, long as I'm adding value, let's do it. And if I stop and my peers don't like it because they're all in 6-month or 1-year contracts, you can try us for 90 days. And if that's all it is, you'll get some kind of value. We'll introduce you to somebody that'll change your life, mm-hmm. and we're done. So it doesn't happen often, but it's a 90-day done thing with a metric at the end of 90 days that we will help you build pipeline. If we don't do that, we're not a good fit anyway.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, certainly contracts have their place in the business world.
Correct.
Yeah, you're not saying that's not the case, and neither am I. But there is when you're in a service business like we are, there is something about a contract that sets a tone for how do I want to say this? It's almost like
a confrontation.
Yeah, it's like confrontational, and it's almost like, well, we want to make sure that if we don't do a good job, you're locked in for a period of time, right? Like if we fuck up, you still got to hang with us,
Sorry.
right? So instead of developing the relationship that gets you through those times, because you're gonna fuck up when you're serving clients. Some point in time, you're not going to meet an expectation, or you or your team, they're going to make a mistake. Shit happens, right? It's the relationship that gets you through that, where you're able to say, okay, we were not our best in that case, and if your client feels like, okay, I understand, Chris, you guys do a great job, it was just a blip. Okay, if it's multiple times, then you deserve to be blown out.
I'll show you the other side of that. So we did not have a contract with a big national company. Pandemic hits, they give me, hey, green light, we're fine. Long story short, the end of April, they call and they go, we can't go forward anymore. They were upset. They wanted to move forward. We can't. So there was no contract. They could end in April and be done. They said, listen, we went back to the sources that be, we want to pay you for May, just as a little bit of show of, who we are. They didn't have to, but they did. And I worked through June for them, because I could,
right.
So, just, I think, I don't have any hard costs, in what I provide. And if I did, I'm sure my clients would pay that. But I'm giving real-time knowledge. And when the coaching profession is so invested in the person, you should be able to monetize what I do for you far beyond what you're paying me. Which, if you look at any athlete, the reason why they're into coaches is that there's an instant feedback loop every day. Boom, you did this, look at that, hey, boom, accountability, feedback loop. And all of a sudden, the star is born. Coach stays the same. It's a different mentality. I've already had my time on stage. I want to help everybody I work with have their moment in the sun. And I never thought I'd be that guy that actually gets the fuzzies from that.
Right.
But I am. I love it. It's like, wow, man, when people say you are the greatest, man, I'm like, no, stop, but it's true.
But it feels good to get the recognition for that. And if you look at any, look at any like big time leader or coach, you think, like, I think right off the bat, I think like a Tony Robbins, right? Guys like men and women like him fundamentally will say the same thing. You're really not going to experience true satisfaction and happiness in life until you're really in a meaningful role of service to others.
It is fundamentally correct. If there's no purpose to what you do, somehow find purpose.
Right.
Really, and that sounded like bullshit to me when I was in my 20s.
Well, yeah,
30s.
when you're younger, you're like, no, whatever.
Yeah. Pay me.
Yeah.
Well, you flip, and now I have the benefit. My son runs the company after spending 10 years coaching college football, so he has discipline and accountability built into him, but truly understands the value of helping people. He helped kids go to the NFL. I mean, that was his thing. Guys that are landed there said, you helped me get there. You saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And there are no amount of zeros that could change that. None. Right. Zero. It's not about the money. And I can't even believe I'm the guy saying that, because I was, in my day, I was just a revenue whore, man. I was like, do the business. We'll figure it out afterwards. But there's good business and there's bad business.
Right.
We say no all the time. We know what's a right fit for us. We know who we should be working with. We know who we should help. I believe every sales organization does that, but they take it anyway. And then it causes all kinds of ripples through the organization. You affect customer service. You affect everybody when you bring in a bad client with bad expectations. And
yeah, well, because the relationship is not what it needs to be. Correct. And it just rubs everybody the wrong way.
It just doesn't work. And when you come to the point in your life where that's not worth it, you get to look at the world. When I say no to some people, they go, what do you mean no? I'll pay you more. I'm telling you, it's not a good fit. I'm not going to be able to help you the way you think I can help you. So I'm foreshadowing. I'm telling you, it's nothing personal. It's just,
That's a special place to be in your career, where you're able to have a level of success that gives you it gives you the financial security that you're looking for, the opportunities in life that you're looking for, and that you get to pick and choose what you want to do and what you don't want to do based on, quite frankly, is it a good fit for you? Are you inspired to be a part of it? And will you fundamentally put your heart and soul into doing it? And if you don't feel like you can, then that's not a good fit.
So in my book, which my family would laugh because I refer to the book all the time, but in my book, one of the chapters is the 3 best words in sales. Okay, what are those words? Most people want to go on meetings or appointments. That doesn't feel right. Appointments are with the dentist. No thanks.
Right.
Meetings, there's already too many meetings. If you change that word to visit, the whole context of hey, Chris, is it okay if I come by and visit? Yeah. Well, let me tell you the purpose of my visit. I want to sit down and learn more about your business to see if we're a fit. Because I know up front we're not a fit for everybody. People are like, what? You would say that to somebody? Yeah. We don't sell everybody. Lots of people say no to us for their reasons. I'll jump ahead of it and I'll tell you, I'll say no for my reasons. So visit, fit, and then the last thing is, if you're a fit, then I can provide value to you the same way I provided to 3 pieces of social credibility. Oh, I do work with the Panthers. Oh, I do work with Bank United. Oh, I do, Oh, really? Oh, so I can call those people and see, and they will validate. It's really that simple. Doesn't matter what product or service you do, if you use those 3, visit, fit, and value, and people leave the room going, I tried it and it worked, because it's not selling. it's the complete opposite of what you were taught. So it's really magical when you use the vocabulary properly. All I want to do is visit with you. If we don't like each other, what's the point?
Right.
There is no point. Nothing's going to happen. So it's good.
That's great.
You don't need it for a long time. Everybody knows. Virtually to do it is fantastic. Neither one of us need to move. You grab a coffee, I'll grab a coffee. We'll do it virtually. We call it virtual coffee. And people go, what's virtual coffee? I go, neither one of us have to move. We'll just visit virtually. We were doing it long before the pandemic. It was so efficient because I didn't have to wait or drive or whatever to find out, that was not good. It didn't feel good.
Right.
We're just not a match. It's okay.
Do you find, so on this virtual coffee thing, because I was going to ask you about it, right? You get online. You don't have the human energy like in the room necessarily, but do you find that you're still able to accomplish that virtually? Is there,
so
can
practice,
you feel?
Yeah, so practice and conditioning, and it's different. As a keynote speaker, I've done tons of keynotes virtually. You don't have the energy of the audience to pull from.
Right.
You got to change the game. You got to practice. You got to do stuff. So for me, like I'll do a Zoom room. There's 150 people in it. I can see all their names. I'll stop the presentation and go, hey, Chris, the last thing I talked about, what did you think about that? I make it interactive.
Right.
Started doing that from the start because in a traditional audience, I don't know the names. I can't even see it. The lights are so bright in my face. I'm speaking to just a blob.
Right.
So I made it an advantage that I can see all the names. And all of a sudden I created this interactivity that could never happen in a live setting. And people dug it. They were like, wow, that was different. That was fun. So no matter what happens, you gotta create the advantages. For me, my one word has always been energy. People go, man, when you come, God, the place lights up. Well, I don't have to be there to do that. I tried to tell my clients who were flying me around, I go, this is inefficient for me to fly in, get stuck, you got to pay for my hotel, my dinner, I can do the same thing virtually. There was no trust in that. But if you trust in virtual tools, you get good at it. You practice Zoom, you practice, all the video tools now, you get better. If you looked at my first videos, they're atrocious. People go, oh, you're so good at it. Wasn't good from the start.
That was our philosophy here. Now, of course, we've been in video production for years and years and years. But when we started doing the podcast, I was like, listen, let's just start doing it. We're going to make mistakes. We'll, rather than trying to make it all perfect, right? And then do it, let's just fucking do it. And then we'll just figure this stuff out along the way. And that's everything that we've been doing. It's just like, it's not perfect, but it's still pretty good. Get it out there. Because in this day and age, it's not like people are sitting around and going, well, you remember that video that Steve did 3 years ago? I mean, it wasn't that good 3 years ago. I mean, they've seen 10 gazillion fucking videos in the time. They're not thinking about that. But you were doing your thing. And at the end of the day, words from your mouth were getting out to somebody who was hearing it.
If you focus on delivering value, right, and not bullshit, it works every time. Doesn't matter where you do it, how you do it, what medium you use. I think a lot of people got caught in a smaller screen, smaller setting. You got to really be sharp. You got to be really throwing arrows at people. You can't fake it. On stage, you can fake it. It's stage, it's lights, you can move around. It, right. You don't have to be on every minute. I mean, I laugh at this. You make a Zoom appointment with somebody or Zoom visit with somebody, and it's for 12 o'clock. And at 12:01, they haven't showed up, and you're like bouncing off the fucking walls. It's like, if we were at a Starbucks and I showed up at 12:01, it'd be fine. Right. All of a sudden, it has to be, 12:01. So it's just changing environment, getting used to stuff. There is a uncomfortableness that people have being in front of the screen, Zoom or video, whatever. But all of the good stuff happens from when you're uncomfortable, and so, that's when that, something good's going to happen. People say, like, do you get nervous when you speak to a big crowd? And I've spoken to crowds of 2,000 or 3,000, maybe a little larger than that. I get nervous if I'm speaking in front of 5 people. It makes me alive. Athletes that come out of the tunnel have butterflies all the time. That's good, man. That makes you know you're alive, that something good's going to happen. Like, I don't want to walk out there dead,
when it's like, it doesn't, it's got to give you that charge,
Every time. Right? Every time. I'll be speaking, this will air Tuesday. Monday, I'll be in Nashville. I'll speak to 500 people. And every single time I make sure it's opening night. I bring it because those people are seeing me for the first time.
It's a show.
It's a show.
It is a show. Right. Just because you might be communicating stuff about business or life or motivation or whatever, when you get on that stage and you're performing, it's a performance. You got to be fucking ready.
And I know when I got them, and it's, you hear the clues, you see the body language.
Right.
And I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I can get up on stage and people are willing to listen to what I have to say. I'm still enamored by it, so it's, humble to the core, but I've had the experience. I was that entrepreneur that was a dick. I was a dick, man. I just went through life trying to grab, and it was cars and vacations and all of that. So I lived that life. Right. Only to find out there's so much more to it that is meaningful and lasting. And so I, once I stopped focusing on the money came even more, which is fascinating to me.
Let's, if we can, let's roll back the hands of time. Good. Okay, let's go to young Steve. What in your life as a young boy, young man, drove you into the field of sales? Like, what was it that led you in this direction?
So I grew up in an entrepreneurial family. My grandfather and my dad were in the fashion lady shoe business. So I heard about it at the table all the time. What were we doing? How were they doing? There's trends. And it felt very exciting to me. Right. But for me, and I spent a lot of time in their stores. They had stores all over New York, and then ultimately Florida. But I just was enamored with the people. I was like, wow, man, you get to spend every day with different people doing different stuff, and all of these opportunities to engage. I dug it, whether they bought or didn't buy. I just liked it. It was cool. You get to meet great people, hear what they're all about. So I knew when I went to college at University of Florida, I went to school, but I was really there knowing that I was going to make my career in something that was interactive. I was not a guy that could sit behind a desk. That was never going to happen. I was mostly a guy that was unemployable, because I had a way. I wanted to do things. And I wasn't going to wait for somebody to tell me what to do. And I certainly wasn't going to listen to somebody who didn't know it as well as I did. So I ventured out on my own early, trying stuff. And, when I first got on stage, I started to tell people, the only reason why I'm here is I was willing to fail more than you. I tried everything. And I failed a bunch, but I had a few beauties that went over the fence that, it's the first time it's great. Then you have doubt whether you can do it again. Couple of failures, boom, you do it again. Mm-hmm. So for me, I had the opportunity in Fort Lauderdale to be with an organization that was in the cellular phone business. They had reached out to me, hey, we heard about you and what you do. We could use a guy that could really build a sales team. And I built a big sales team. That was a monster rocket ship business, not because of me necessarily. The category exploded. Nobody was using cellular phones. Everybody.
Right.
So we made huge mistakes doing that, but I learned a lot. And I just knew that I was fortunate to meet people and grab information from them. We had a big client, and I remember calling the senior VP one day, and I go, will you spend like 20 minutes in your office, just let me bounce stuff off of you? I go, I feel like I'm drowning. I'm way over my skis. And he said, sure. And it became like a regular thing, and I understood the power of mentoring. All you got to do is ask. In my career, just about any time I reached out to someone I admired and said, hey, I admire what you're doing. Would you spend a little time sort of sharing with me? Yes. What? It was like, really? Me? And they did. And so what you find, so I bounced around a bunch. I opened my own agency, sports marketing agency, at a time when nobody really understood sports marketing. It was like tickets and signage. We created these interactive programs. Blessed that my first client was Don Shula. That doesn't get much better.
Right.
Then once I had relationship with Coach Shula, it was everybody wanted to do business with us. But we were innovative. We were doing cool things. But everything changes. It continues to change. The one constant was, and I learned it from Pat Riley, change is inevitable. You better learn to embrace it. You can't plant your flag and go, oh, I like it here.
Yeah.
I like it right here.
We're all done.
I made it. Made it. What are you talking about? As soon as you think that, something happens. So like pandemic didn't freak me out. 9/11 freaked me out because I was in the midst of tons of hospitality deals that just completely went away. I was in the middle of when the market crashed. We had investments everywhere. Oh, shit, that's going to hurt. So, if you learn to expect the unexpected, you're never surprised. You learn to be nimble. So I've been fortunate in my career to do a bunch of stuff. The sports stuff was really fun. My sons got to watch me do my thing, and it was always about meeting people. Airport, anytime I was in an airport, anytime I was at dinner, or I would, pick 3 or 4 people. I want to meet them and just walk up and say, hey, I did a little research on you. I know what you do. Fascinating. If you're ever willing to give me 30 minutes, I'd love to hear your story. And you know what? The reality is, whoops, sorry about that.
That's all right.
The reality is they all did. And I learned, and I took bits and pieces of everybody's knowledge, put it into my own track. And so I'm well educated, and I have no fear. I have confidence that I'll figure it out. Always have. So once you get to that place, like you said, I'm in that position in my career. I'm 61 years old. I work out. I live in South Florida, man. I'm like, seriously, it's unbelievable. It's where we live is spectacular. So I'm just grateful for so much. And now I get this opportunity to work with both of my sons, and to know that the effect I've had on them, which I didn't really know all of it until my son called me one day and he said, I'm done coaching. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to get into sales, which is the funniest thing, because that's usually people's last resort. What are you going to do? Well, I'll get into sales. So it's like, no, it's a profession. You got to learn it. He asked me to teach it to him. in a really relevant way, which to me will be the best, gift I could ever give anybody or receive, was that I did it. And to watch him and to hear feedback from people like, wow, that is an incredible young man. And he credits all the things that I didn't even know I was teaching him, that I taught him. So it's just a really cool, blessed time. We're writing a second book, which will be still Confessions of a Serial Salesman, but the subtitle will be A Family Affair. And it's the three of us writing the book, which is amazing. So it's like he became president of the company in March of 2020. He was excited as could be. And by March 15th, he looked at me and he goes, did I make a mistake? And I go, no. And he goes, what do you mean no? I go, never before has everybody been on the starting line. Everybody always had some advantage in the race. We all had to figure it out. And the ones who figured it out exploded. Business, went great. Then there were some categories that got really hurt, cruising and hospitality, and that's the nature of any revolution,
right?
But it's a fun time to do what I do because it's all relationship. Everything back when my grandfather was doing it was, I got a guy. Where do you buy your meat? I got a guy. Yeah. Where do you get your tires? I got a guy. The car business is the same way. I got a guy. As soon as you have a guy, you buy all your cars from that guy. Rocco is my guy. I wouldn't think of buying anything until I talked to Rocco. He's my guy. We're back to that. And social media allows you to be the guy. Mm-hmm. They can find you and go, oh, I want that guy. He knows some people I know. I like what he's doing. Can sample the product long before you get it. So it's a fascinating time.
That's amazing. What, shifting gears just a little bit, you've got an incredible amount of energy. 61 years old, you look young, you're fit, you got a lot of energy and a lot of drive. What do you do to take care of yourself to keep, to be able to keep going?
I believe in coaching, obviously. Okay. So I have a trainer.
Okay.
Who is my coach / mentor / rabbi, priest. So I work out 4 times a week.
Okay.
It's a very extensive workout, including boxing. Boxing changed me significantly, not only physically but mentally. It's a game of offense and defense, and there's a lot of thinking going on when you box. And physically, it just changed everything about my stamina. I mean, it's fascinating that people get in the ring for 3 minutes. Like, if you've never been in the ring for 3 minutes, I can't even lift my arms after some of the rounds. It's like, wow, I'm done. So for most people, and this is part of our coaching mentality, for most people, when they say diet means food.
Right.
Diet for us means what you watch, what you listen to, what you read, and who you hang out with. A big part of how you live a healthy life. If you're around shitty people, it wears off. And so if you have the discipline in your life to control who the 5 people you hang out with the most, if you intake really good stuff in the morning, big fan of affirmations, I get up and mentally condition my brain that I'm worth it and that I'm enough. Because the world is going to kick the shit out of me the minute I open the door, man. It's like, no, you're not. You suck. So you can do all this stuff. And they're loops that come back to me, all the time. And so it allows me to show up the best I can be all the time. And again, I write about that. It's that commitment to show up as a 10 all the time. Michael Jordan wrote about it, spoke about it. He said, look, it'd be physically impossible to be a 10 all the time. What you got to get good at is self-assessing. I'm a 5. I don't feel good. Well, some people just go, I'm going to slide through today. I'm not willing to give up the day. I'm willing to figure out what I need to do to get to a 10. Read, write, run, boom, whatever it is, my commitment is to show up as a 10. And that has served me well my whole life. And one of my greatest takeaways is that if you look at Popeye, the character, which, by the way, on the road when I was speaking regularly, there's some younger crowds that I would do. I would have a picture of Popeye and they would kind of like look, and afterwards they go, who's the sailor dude? I'm like, what?
Shit.
You don't know who this is? I was like, that's a reminder of how old I am. But when Popeye had fear or doubt or didn't feel right, what did he do? Boom, he took the spinach. If you find your spinach, you're set. So all you need to do is find your spinach. What makes you tick? I live near the beach. The beach makes me tick. There is a scientific philosophy that is validated now that water regenerates your brain. It makes you feel better. It sends different waves. I'm by the water a lot. I try to ride, walk, run, beach, It makes a difference. So,
It shows, man.
Yeah, thanks.
It shows. Wow, Steve, you're a powerhouse, man.
Thank you.
I mean, it's inspiring and it's motivating because I'm a big believer. You talked about energy before. I'm a big believer in energy and having that drive and having the passion for what you do. You clearly have that. And
can you imagine if you gave me a cup of coffee before?
I know,
I said no, right?
probably was. Yourself,
I know
right?
myself.
That was maybe not the spinach that you needed right now.
Didn't need it.
All right, Steve. Well, I'm sure we could go on for a long time because there's a lot. But
Thanks.
at the same time, I feel like this was a short blast of inspirational and meaningful knowledge and energy from you. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to kind of segue out at this point in time. So what I'd like to say, Steve, is thank you. And do you want to just take a quick minute and tell anybody that is listening or watching how they can find you and how they can learn about you and title your book again?
Sure. So I was blessed with a great last name, Nudelberg. It's Nudelberg. And all over social, it's at Nudelberg. So very dominant across Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook. Any place that I can tell my story, I do it. The name of my book is Confessions of a Serial Salesman. It's 27 rules for influencers and leaders. If you want to be better in life, the rules are there. You can pay attention. And for me, when I'm not getting the results I want, to go right back to the rules. So it's interesting. The first rule of the book is wake up early. Early's different for different people. And some people challenge me, well, I don't wake up early. I said, I didn't tell you what to do. I'm sharing with you what I do. Waking up early, conquering the day early is significant for me. Now I get up every day at 3 a.m.
Do you?
You will get emails from me at 3 a.m.
Okay,
as people who know, I just program my day differently. I program my day from 3 to 3. So I have early morning hours where I do more than most people do in a month. I'm very disciplined about doing that. So the book is that kind of practical stuff about what I do, why I do it, who I do it with, and it's all a process. And if you stick to the process in whatever you do in life, you will be uber successful.
All right, now I'm curious. Okay, so you get up at 3 because one of my first and original mentors was, and to some degree still is, Jordan Zimmerman, who owns.
I know Jordan,
okay.
Of course. Yeah.
So Jordan, when I worked for him years ago, he was up at like 4. Like I think that was his thing.
And he and I have emailed at 4.
Yeah. Okay. And he's I think he's backed that up super early. I'm 4:30 is when I get up.
Okay.
That's I'm not. I used to do 3:45, but that was a little extreme. So I'm at 4:30 right now. But I agree, the morning time is the best time.
Nothing inbound.
But my question is, okay, how do you balance your day out? If you're getting up at 3 and you got a 3 to 3 day, right? From 3 p.m. on, what's the wind down time? Are you getting into bed early to give yourself enough sleep to get up at 3, or at 61 do you start to need a little bit less sleep?
So that's a great question.
I'm serious. I want to know because I need 7.5, 8 hours. I need it.
When I was on the road, the number one question was, okay, we read your book. You wake up at 3. What time do you go to bed? So I go to bed when I'm tired. I eat when I'm hungry. I listen to the clues. So tonight I'll be at a birthday party that starts at 7. We're going to have dinner. We'll probably drink some wine. I probably won't be back until 10, so it'll be 10:30. So I'll be deficient tonight, but I'll make it up tomorrow. It's all choices. What you do, when you do it, and if you pay attention to your calendar, you know how to balance it out. And the second thing will freak people out. When we were kids, you took a nap. 15-minute naps are powerful. Really boom, so people in my office, people that know me, know that if we're driving somewhere and someone else is driving, I'm 15 minutes, I'm gone. And then I'm powered up again. So the power of doing what my body tells me to do, if I'm exhausted, I'm not good to anybody.
Right.
15 minutes. Now, 30-minute nap would be sluggish.
Really?
15 minutes, scientifically, is the right amount to catch up. But if you go past that, so it's, if you set an alarm or you train yourself, I haven't used an alarm to wake up in the morning in 20 years.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I learned early on, coincidentally, from Michael Yormark, who was a client. The Panthers were a client of, and Jordan was an owner.
Right.
Michael used to email me like stupid early, and I was like, "What's the deal?" And he said, "Look, if most people get up at 6 or 6:30, and I get up at 4, I'm outworking them 2 hours a day. Do the math." Mm-hmm. All he said to me is, "Do the math," and I was like, wow. So I trained myself in half-hour increments to keep getting up earlier and earlier. And now I can't wait to get up because those morning hours are mine. I read. There's no inbound. I'm not getting calls or texts, or there's no distractions. I get a lot of great thinking done. I work out.
Yep.
Then every day we do my show, The Daily Huddle, at 8 a.m. and
7:58.
7:58. You'll get an alert if you're connected to me on LinkedIn. You get an alert that says, hey, the Steve Nudelberg is live, and if you tune in, we promise you 30 minutes of really good, solid daily content for you to take away. Social media tips, sales tips, life tips. So fun, but it's all process, so I know to listen to my body. Like, I don't eat because it's lunchtime. Like, that's hilarious. Like, in the sales world, it was like, oh, it's Taco Tuesday. I'm like, dude, seriously, man, focus on what matters.
Right.
You can sustain yourself during the day. Just take a piece of cold cut and cheese and you're done, But people go for big lunches. And if you think about it, what happens after a big lunch?
Yeah, tired. Yep.
You pay attention to things. Like I'm not really allergic to gluten, but when the whole gluten thing started happening, I started paying attention. When I would eat gluten,
yeah,
I got sluggish. I go, I don't want to be that. Stop eating it. It's just that simple. If something makes you sick, stop eating it.
Yeah, I just did an Everlywell food. It was like a food sensitivity test.
Cool.
And it's got like 3 categories. Basically, what it's saying is, if certain foods agitate your immune system, you may want to consider weaning them out. So there's like 3 categories. So extreme or like high, which I didn't have anything in there, middle, and then low. So I've gone through that, and I'm like, okay, now I'm weaning that stuff out to see.
Yeah, people say, oh, you should eat avocado. How do you know what I should eat? If avocado makes me sick. Now, I happen to love avocado.
Right,
it makes
same
sense. Here. But there's so many people telling you what to do. If you just take in the information and decide for yourself, which is, nobody wants that responsibility. There's lots of information. You could be an expert in nutrition if you wanted to. Someone else is telling you because they have an agenda. Only eat protein. Don't eat protein. Do this. Do that.
Right,
Drink,
yeah.
Cow's milk. Don't they? Right?
Yep.
I like red meat. I like a steak. I like a steak and a glass of wine. It doesn't make me feel bad. I don't know, if you don't want to eat it, I'm not offended. Don't be offended if I eat it.
Right.
So it's, it's good stuff.
But
it's choices. We all have choices if you're willing to accept the responsibility.
That's right.
Fun. Thank you. This was awesome.
Steve, thank you, man. Great time. I totally enjoyed it.
As did I, and I will have you on my show.
I look forward to that.
My show is Tell Me Something Good.
Okay.
And you got plenty good to tell me.
I'll tell you something good.
But I want you to play me something good.
Okay. All right, man.
Awesome.
Peace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great.